and welcome to the Oprah Winfrey Show. Today's guests, we have Brandon Unruh and Cody Conway. And today, we will be going through the steps of mummification. But before that, I would like to talk about some background information about the Egyptians. The Egyptians were polytheistic, which means they believed in more than one god. And after they died, they believed in going into an afterlife, as their bodies were preserved, and a process called mummification. Mummification was for the middle class to higher class people. Usually the slaves and peasants were not mummified. In the process of mummification, their brains and internal organs were removed from their body, and they were stored in these jars. The next step of it was to have salt poured onto the skin and on the inside of the mummy to completely dry them out so their body would not rot. Then what they would do, my personal favorite part, is wrap them in some sort of cotton cloth of some sort that I don't know, but it said we'll be using toilet paper. Here we go. Not only humans were mummified, but also, animals were mummified. You might think this is strange, but some people wanted to live with their animals in the afterlife. Mummifying a live dog is probably not the best idea, but he seems to like it. This is Jake, by the way. Okay, now that this one is mummified, let's move on to continuing the process of mummification. Alright, let's let this mummy go away. Lay down, mummy. Well, the people, after being mummified, were buried with their favorite possessions and their wealth and food for the afterlife, because they felt that in the afterlife they would need all their money, food, and possessions because they wanted to live a good life afterwards. For this mummy, his favorite possessions are his lacrosse sticks, and they're also buried with food for the afterlife so they can survive. Okay, for the pharaohs and kings, they were made special sarcophaguses made out of gold and very rich jewels and other types of things. And they were painted with life. Okay, anyway, so only the pharaohs and kings would... Look at this mummy. But only the pharaohs and kings would have this nice golden sarcophaguses. Like King Tut, for example. I think he's in New York City right now, then you could go visit him. Also,
alright, now I'm gonna take over.
Okay. Mummy! Down! Down, mummy! Cody Conway.
The Egyptians had different classes of which would be, well, they're different classes in society. The highest class were the pharaohs, then were the nobles and priests, then they had farmers and peasants, and then they went down to the slaves. The slaves weren't properly mummified. They were usually thrown into ditches and buried with sand, if they were lucky. Usually all the other classes would be mummified from up to down. The highest ones would be honored with the greatest sarcophaguses and other stuff. They would have all of their possessions and everything with them. Then the lower classes would have what they did own, which wouldn't be much.
Where were they buried, the mummies?
The mummies were buried in the tombs and the pyramids. Each pyramid was made for a different pharaoh and their family. They would have the pharaoh's chamber where just the pharaoh would be buried. Then they would have the chamber where all of his gold and possessions would be. Then they would have where the family and wife would be. With the pharaoh, the process of mummification. First, they would take the brain out and all of the organs inside of them. They'd put them all in the jars and keep them with the pharaoh. Then they would salt the body to preserve it and dry it up. And then they'd go on from that.
And that pretty much concludes today's lesson on mummification. This was an exclusive special on the Oprah Winfrey Show with Cody Conway, Brandon Unruh, and myself, Andrew Coletta.
And Jake.
And Jake, who's somewhere over there. But special thanks to Brandon for being a mummy, and this kid for kind of helping out. And yay.